Okay, welcome everybody if you've just arrived. Our next speaker is Matt Payne, who is going to give a talk on the history of the Hackney Design Awards, celebrating the borough's best loved buildings. So if you could just welcome Matt and he can make a start. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this talk about the history of the Hackney Design Awards, where we'll be celebrating the borough's best loved buildings. So I'm Matt Payne. I'm the Deputy Manager in the Conservation, Urban Design and Sustainability team. We call ourselves CUDS for short, at Hackney Council. So I'm very pleased to be here today in the Round Chapel and pleased that the Hackney Society have invited me back following a talk last year that I did on the Design Awards with some of the judges from the 2024 programme. So it's a 40-minute presentation. I've got lots of photos of all the great schemes along the way, and I'll be pausing from time to time just to ask questions and try and get you involved, make it a bit more interactive. And as we're going through, feel free to stop me if you'd like any more information. If I can answer any questions, I will do. And just to clarify, in the blurb for my talk, it mentions guest speakers. I don't have guest speakers today, I'm afraid, but I have included some of the judges' comments from over the years. And I also reached out to some of our past judges and the panel chairs for any reflections that they have on the awards over the years. So, Hackney Design Awards are one of the oldest and longest running design awards in London. They began in 2004 and they've been running every 2 years since. And Hackney is one of only 3 boroughs from across the 32 in London that have an active Design Awards programme, according to my research. So in this talk, you'll learn about the history of the awards and also how you can get involved in our 2026 programme, launching later this year. So as many of you will know, there's been quite a few changes, quite a few big changes in the past week in Hackney. So we have a new Green Mayor, Zoe Garber, a Green majority in the council with 42 councillors, which I believe is up from 4 prior to the election, so a very big change. And we now have a new cabinet member for regeneration, planning and inclusive neighbourhoods, which obviously includes my team. That's Councillor Alistair Binney-Lubbock, who I believe may be here today, and I look forward to meeting soon. And we're also expecting to have our new heritage champion announced very soon, so that'll be exciting. So just briefly on the Green Manifesto, obviously I'm not here to talk about that today, but there's the key commitments there about tackling inequality, celebrating diversity, and in terms of things that are relevant to my team in particular, creating safer and greener streets, repairing fragile ecosystems. My team includes biodiversity. We have a senior biodiversity officer, and adapting to a changing climate, which is obviously the sustainability part of the team. And then just a couple of things that I noticed, and you may have noticed as well if you have read the manifesto, is there are some commitments there about protecting Hackney's heritage, supporting the conservation of community assets, local landmarks, and bringing Stoke Newington Town Hall back to life as a major cultural venue, which would be fantastic. So a bit about me. So I've already mentioned that I'm the CUDS team deputy manager. I joined Hackney a very long time ago in 2005 as a junior conservation and design officer. And I previously worked at Wandsworth briefly in development management, and then my first job was at Haringey as an enforcement officer. Study-wise, my background is planning and urban design. A lot of the heritage side has been learned on the job. And just in terms of projects, some of you may be familiar with the Love Local Landmarks project with English Heritage at the time, and the Hackney Society, obviously, which I was involved with back in 2012. I've written conservation area appraisals for Shacklewell Green and Wells Street, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. And I've been the lead for the Hackney Design Awards since 2018. So in terms of what we are going to go through today, and I am obviously mindful of time, I'm going to talk a little bit about the background to Design Awards generally and the Hackney Design Awards. And then the main body of the presentation, as I said, is celebrating the borough's best loved buildings. So from 2004 to 2024, I've split it into 2 parts, 2 decades, where we'll be looking at each of the award programmes and looking at all of the fantastic buildings. And then I'll be coming on to the 2026 programme. Hackney Design Awards is happening later this year. And then finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A. Okay, so this is the question time. I don't know if this is going to work. We might not have the roving mic, but does anybody know what the oldest building design awards is in the UK? We've got Civic Trust Awards, Housing Design Awards, or the RIBA Awards? Reba? Okay, so it's actually the Housing Design Awards, which I was really surprised about. I thought that was a kind of recent thing, but that actually started way back in 1948, and according to the website, is actually the longest running design awards program in the world, obviously to champion the best residential buildings after World War II. And then next was the Civic Trust Awards in 1959, recognising outstanding architecture, planning and design in the built environment, and I've been involved with those awards for a number of years as the local authority representative. And then Reba Awards 1966, including the Sterling Prize. They actually had something called the President's Medals Awards, which go back to the 1830s, but they're for architectural education, not for buildings. So yeah, there is obviously a lot of history there, but in terms of actual design awards, 1966. And then fast forward a little bit, quite a bit actually, to Hackney Design Awards 2004, which is obviously what we're here today to focus on. The New London Awards shortly after in 2005, and then the Design Awards, which they're worldwide awards, but they're very well known, they're very prestigious, and they are based in Hackney, I believe in Orsman Road. So it's a really big awards, programme to be running from Hackney. So with this next slide, I just wanted to highlight something that I wasn't too aware about either before I did the research for this presentation, and that's some of the local amenity group awards that are running across London and have been running for quite a few years. So yeah, run by the local amenity groups, celebrating the best architecture or heritage within their respective boroughs. Starting off with Richmond, 1977, Kingston, Ealing, Hammersmith, and then most recently the Westminster Society. And then the scheme you see there on the right is the Strand Aldwych Public Realm Scheme, which probably you're all familiar with, which was one of their winners recently. So I mentioned earlier on, according to my research, and I hope my research is correct, that there's 3 London boroughs that have got active programmes. So obviously you know Hackney has, because that's why I'm here today. Do you know the others? Anyone? Camden, yeah. So Camden's one of them, they're quite well known. And then the other borough isn't too far away from us. That is Waltham Forest. So yeah, Waltham Forest and Camden. Now I wanted to stand here today and say that Hackney is the oldest design awards in London, because I thought it was. But apparently Waltham Forest started in 1990. There's not a lot of information for the 90s or 2000s. I'm assuming it was active. Otherwise, we can take the crown and say we're the oldest one in London. I did reach out to colleagues there, and I haven't heard back yet. But anyway, there are 3 active programmes, and then you'll see there that some of the boroughs that ran awards previously, Barnet, Brent, Haringey, Wandsworth. Wandsworth actually seemed to have had awards from 1999 to 2019. But they don't seem to be active at the moment, which is a real shame. And if I've got any of this wrong, obviously please correct me, because if I do this presentation again, it'd be good to have the accurate information. So, coming on to the Hackney Design Awards. So yeah, as I mentioned, launched in 2004, runs every 2 years, so we are definitely one of London's longest continually running programmes. So we celebrate the best in design, architecture, public realm across the borough. It's open to everyone. We encourage everyone to nominate, big schemes, small schemes, and it's always been free to enter. So we try and make it as inclusive as possible. And then since 2004, we've had over 400 nominations, 60 judges, 177 shortlisted schemes, and 111 awards, commendations, or special mentions. And 2026 marks our 12th Design Awards. I'm not going to read all of that out, but that is our judging criteria. That's pretty much been our kind of key criteria since the start, apart from the climate resilience, which came in 2020. So Hackney declared a climate emergency in 2019. And then we really wanted to bring that sustainability aspect into the criteria. So that's something we look for in all of the nominations. We have a sustainability award, but we look for climate resilience within all of the nominations. So our judges are looking at those 4 things when they assess the schemes. The photo on the right is a winner from 2020, the floating church. Obviously an unusual nomination because it's movable. There was a lot of debate about whether that could enter the awards, and in the end we decided that it could. And it was moored in Hackney. I think it goes up and down the River Lee, but it was based in Hackney at the time. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background about design awards generally and the Hackney Design Awards. And then the main part of the presentation now is looking at 20 years of great design and celebrating the best of the buildings in Hackney that we've seen over those 20 years. And as I said, I've done this in 2 parts, and there's lots of photos along the way, which hopefully you'll enjoy. So the inaugural 2004 Hackney Design Awards. Which of these buildings was a winner in 2004? Does anybody want to have a guess? So we've got Amnesty International UK Action Centre, which is down in Shoreditch, the Hackney Empire, or the Hot House, which is by London Fields. Yes, Hackney Empire. There it is in all its glory, that new extension, or new at the time, with that obviously very prominent signage announcing the Hackney Empire. So that was kind of one of the standout winners of the first design awards. There were 6 winners overall. There were a couple of things that were unusual about these awards. Obviously, I wasn't involved at all, I hadn't started yet. There was a photography competition, which sadly I don't have much more information about. And there was also a documentary film made about Hackney's historic environment. So I'd love to find those. They may be out there if anyone knows where they are. And we also had quite a lavish awards ceremony at the Empire. We had awards handed out by Sir Richard Rogers, Victoria Thornton, who was the founder of the Open House organisation, and also the mayor at the time, Jules Pipe. And you'll see the Richard Rogers Mossbourne Community Academy there, which was a winner. Some more winners from 2004. I won't go through those. I do have all the names listed, but just to give you a sort of flavour of 2004. 2006, we had 28 nominations and 7 winners overall. So one of the key winners there was the Nile Street residential scheme on the right. And the judges' comments there: high density, good quality social mix of housing, nice, clean, polished, finished scheme. And that had that kind of quite unusual copper finish, which was quite popular at the time. The Amnesty International building there on the left, and then 17 Row Lane, I think, is the scheme in the middle. The rooftop nursery building and another school entry there from 2006. In 2008, we had a design champion on our judging panel. So that was a former councillor, Darren Parker. That was the only year we had a design champion. I'm not sure why we had a design champion that year and why it didn't carry on. We obviously still have a heritage champion, but we had a design champion on our panel. I think the Hot House is in the wrong place, apologies. One of the key winners that year was Adelaide Wharf, which is close to Haggerston Baths, that was mentioned earlier. So that actually won loads of awards that year. Yeah, so Adelaide Wharf AHMM Architects. That also won an RIBA award, a Housing Design Award, a Civic Trust Award, and a London Planning Award. So that was really kind of the standout scheme that year. And then just a couple of other schemes from 2008. Give you a sort of flavour of what was going on back then. So 2010 was our kind of schools year. We had loads of schools entries and we had lots of winners. And we also had our largest number of nominations, 55. You've got the Bridge Academy there on the right. Bottom left is City Academy. There was also Clapton Girls Technology College. And then a couple other schemes, including the Eastern Curve Garden and the Barn, I think it's called, is that structure there. And then this was also the first year where we had the People's Choice Awards. So this is getting local people involved in the design awards, voting for their favourite building out of the shortlist. So does anybody know, anyone want to guess which scheme won in 2010? So that was Clapton Girls Technology College, so I just mentioned that. So that was our first ever People's Choice Award winner. And no doubt all of the pupils there voted for that scheme. So sorry, I forgot to mention, 2010 we had our first panel chair. Before it had been a kind of more of a group discussion. We didn't have a chair. And then in 2012 we had Alex Ely as our chair. I reached out to Alex about his experience. He says it's a privilege to chair the awards. And the borough's built a solid reputation for championing well-designed buildings, and the awards bear testament to this, so that's really good to hear. So 50 nominations, loads and loads of nominations, and only 2 winners. And they were the Hackney Marshes Centre and the Handball Arena, which is obviously part of the 2012 London Olympics. So out of all of those nominations, there was only those 2 winners. And then I've got the People's Choice on the next page, which isn't those 2 winners. So sorry, there's a third winner in the sense that you've got the People's Choice, and that was Erswick School, which is not too far away, just in Hackney Central. So 2014, Sarah Wigglesworth was our panel chair, and again, loads of good schemes. It was our 10-year anniversary. And then the schemes you see there, the Writer's Shed in the middle, which is a really nice outbuilding. 151 Church Walk in the bottom left, and then Leonard's Circus, which was a shared surface scheme, one of the first in London, obviously done by Hackney Highways. And then you've got Cardinal Pole Roman Catholic School. And then People's Choice winner, sadly, isn't there anymore, but there is another building in its place. That's the black and white building in Shoreditch. So that was a kind of refurb of that building, of that kind of commercial space. So just pausing briefly. 2004 to 2014, I've got the three People's Choice winners. Just wondered if anyone had any reflections on those, or any reflections on 2004 to 2014. Any favourites? I mean, obviously the schools are always really popular, so if there's a school on the shortlist, they tend to win the People's Choice Award.
Did you take one on the right instead of over there?
No, and I'll come on to that because it's actually another award winner.
Yeah, it's that wooden building now, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's People's Choice the second time around, but yeah, it's in the awards twice, so you'll see it again, it's coming up. Okay, so 2016, Fred Manson, Director of Heatherwick Studios, was our panel chair. Again, loads of nominations, quite a high number. We don't tend to get anywhere near that, really, and I think we get sort of about 30 usually now. 7 winners. I'm missing some of these probably key points. This says another Hackney Society judge, which I believe was Lisa Shell, chair of the Hackney Society Planning Group. We had Lisa Rigg, who's, I think, quite a key part of the Hackney Society as well, on a previous awards. A new mayor, Philip Glanville, and those are some of the great buildings that we had. So on the right, you've got Spruce Apartments by Amin Taha Architects, Frampton Park Baptist Church by Matthew Lloyd Architects, and Matthew Lloyd is also one of our judges coming up. And then the bottom picture is 32A Lansdowne Drive by Tectonic Architects, and that was the first passive house certified scheme in Hackney or in London. I'm not sure. I've got it in my notes, but it was a trailblazing scheme, so that's really great. That is, I don't think I've got the name of the road, but it's kind of just south of Stoke Newington, just off the High Street, the west of Kingsland, or Stoke Newington High Street. Obviously very distinctive. So if you walk up Stoke Newington High Street and look off to the left, you'll find it pretty quickly. And then our People's Choice Award winner was the Woodbury Wetlands. So our judges said that this public realm project is successful on many levels. It provides new public space, makes sense of its location, creates a sense of community ownership, and provides an opportunity to appreciate nature. And that space was actually opened by Sir David Attenborough, obviously, who's been in the news a lot just lately, and that was on the 30th of April in 2016. So that is a great space, London Wildlife Trust, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. So 2018, I mentioned Matthew Lloyd, so he'd been one of our award winners with the Frampton Pass Baptist Church. And he says that he recalls it was pleasurable, that we saw some really wonderful and timeless architecture that year. And so his fellow judges, his co-jury members, he still sees regularly around the London architectural scene. So it's great that the Design Awards bring together all these networks. 42 nominations and we had 6 winners. One of the big ones that year was obviously the Hackney Town Hall restoration by Hawkins Brown Architects, which is great. Hackney Town Hall's still looking wonderful inside, all polished and clean. The King's Crescent Estate by Karakusevich Carson Architects. That also won an RIBA National and London Award, a New London Award, so an NLA, and an AJ Architecture Award. So lots and lots of awards for that one. And then bottom left is the Beauvoir Block by Henley Howell Brown. And then the People's Choice Award winner was a little different that year. This scheme is called 146A Rushmore Road, so just off of Chatsworth Road, not too far away at all. And around that time, there was a lot of Corten steel being used, so it was very kind of fashionable at the time. And it still is now to a degree, but it particularly that year. And that's by ZCD Architects. 2020 was an unusual year. Obviously, the pandemic. We couldn't go out and look at any of the schemes. There were lockdowns happening all the time. We weren't sure whether we were going to go ahead with the awards. We were thinking of pausing them. And then we decided, let's crack on with it. Let's get the nominations in, meet virtually, put our panel together, and we'll do our assessments based on the submissions. So based on all the drawings, the photos. We asked for as many photos as possible. So yeah, we went ahead with it. And we had a lot of winners. We had 11 winners that year, so it's the highest number ever, and a lot of commendations as well. Elsie Owusu Architects, panel chair. And then another thing that happened in 2020, which probably people are familiar with now, is we introduced these new awards. So heritage and restoration, so for sympathetic restorations or extensions or buildings within a heritage setting. Climate change and sustainability award for low carbon, sustainable and exemplar design that demonstrates a direct contribution to Hackney's climate emergency. And then because we were all in lockdown and we were all at home and wanting to connect with each other, we brought in this inclusivity in design award. So for projects that promote accessibility and inclusivity for all members of the community and bring the community together. Hackney School of Food was one of the winners, promoting food education to deprived communities. And then you've got the Hackney Gardens scheme just over that way, which was a commendation, and then the St Mary's Centre, top right, which was a winner. So these are all the winners in the various categories. So you've got the Heritage and Restoration Awards, fairly obvious, that's bottom right, that was Bishopswood Almshouses. Top right, you've got 3 rooms under a new roof. That was the standout sustainability winner by Ormea Sylvester Architects. Bottom left was this Inclusivity in Design Award, and that was called Build Up Hackney. So that was a public space that was designed and built by local children, basically, children and teenagers. So they designed it and built it. So that was a really great award. And then the People's Choice winner was the top left, which was the Fisheries, which is just by London Fields, quite an unusual building. 2022, we had Claire Murray, who's the sustainability lead, studio director at Lever Bernstein. So again, really sort of focusing on sustainability. And she's put a comment there. I won't read all that out, but that's her kind of reflections on her experience in 2022 and highlighting all the great buildings that they saw. Obviously, we were back to the actual visits this time, so going out and seeing the schemes in person. So in terms of winners, the left-hand photo is Taylor, Chatto and Wilmot Courts by Henley Howell Brown Architects. And again, that won lots of other awards, RIBA, NLA and a Civic Trust Award. Britannia Leisure Centre was actually commended by our judges. It didn't win, which was quite surprising, but it went on to win Building of the Year at the NLA Awards. Graphic House by Office S&M, that kind of quite colourful interior there, that was really, really popular. That was commended by our judges. and 16 Chart Street on the right by Ian Chalk Architects. That won a design award, and they very kindly hosted us for the 2024 awards for our ceremony. So that was great of them to do that. And then, just in terms of our category winners, on the left, the Museum of the Home. Obviously, there were lots of issues there with circulation and bottlenecks and things like that, and the entrances were all an issue, and that scheme's really sort of unlocked everything there. So that was our heritage winner that year. Yorkton Workshops, which is top right, by Pearson Lloyd, Cassie and Castle Architects. So that was kind of a reuse of an existing, I think it was a stables building, so quite unusual, but it was a sort of retrofit and reuse, rather than just knocking it down. Obviously, a lot of developers want to just knock things down, and we want to push for retention wherever possible, retention and retrofit. And then a little bit of an unusual People's Choice winner, 208 Caston Road, which was on the shortlist but didn't get any commendations. But they did a lot of promo and they got people to vote for it, so that was the People's Choice winner. Okay, so the last awards before we come on to 2026. So 2024, Owen Watson, Director of 6A Architects, was our chair. And again, loads and loads of great schemes. I've probably got most of the winners on here, I think. Bradbury Works is on the left there. That was on the shortlist. We didn't award it. Then it went on to win, I think, let me just check here. It went on to win national and London RIBA awards and the Civic Trust Awards, despite only being on our shortlist. So obviously there's different perspectives there when sort of panellists and judges get together to assess these schemes. Aidan Grove is the next one, just there, by Emil Eve Architects. Chowdhury Walk, you should be familiar with Al Jawad Pike Architects, and that scheme also won national and London RIBA awards, the Neve Brown Award for housing, and was a Sterling Prize finalist. So that one was very popular on the awards circuit. And then you've got House Made by Many Hands at the top, which is a really great sustainable scheme, lots of use of sustainable materials. And then the bottom with the kind of little bridge, arched bridge, is Tower Court up in Stamford Hill. And again, that went on to win RIBA, NLA, and a Civic Trust Award. I mentioned the black and white building. Don't know if you can picture that building from earlier. That then became this new black and white building by War Thistleton Architects. So despite the sort of demolition of that building, in the round, everything that building was offering, and bearing in mind, obviously, we had sustainability experts on our panel, that won the Climate Change and Sustainability Award for 2024. So it's doing all the right things in terms of net zero targets. The St John at Hackney Church renovation into a sort of new event space, obviously a church as well. That was really fantastic. So that was our heritage winner. And then the People's Choice Award went to the Clapton Portico, which had been on the Heritage at Risk Register and obviously is now a fantastic doctor's surgery and back into full use. Okay, so that's all of our People's Choice winners from over the years from 2016 to 2024. Again, don't know if anyone's got any reflections on that. It's kind of a bit of everything there, isn't there, really? So yeah, anyone can win the People's Choice Award, basically. I'm not going to spend too long on here. I won't sort of talk to all of them, but obviously this is a talk for the Hackney Society, so I just wanted to highlight all the great historical schemes, heritage schemes that we've had over the years. Obviously Hackney Empire we saw earlier, a refurb of Haggerston School, the tram shed and that famous Damien Hirst artwork, which is no longer there, sadly, Museum of the Home, the Shoreditch Town Hall refurb, which I think was back in 2006, so bringing that back into use, and that's now obviously a really great venue. St Leonard's Church facade restoration. That kind of court end steel infill is next to one of the buildings I think that was mentioned earlier, which is the St Barnabas Church on Kingston Road. Springfield restoration project, those photos on the right, and then Abney Park restoration, bringing that chapel back into use, which was obviously derelict for a number of years, and that's allowed that to come off the Heritage at Risk register. So these things take a long time, but it's obviously great when they happen. Cliff's Old House, there was a refurbishment. I think that was 2012, that was. I mentioned St John at Hackney, the Hackney Town Hall, Clapton Portico, and the St Mary's Centre. So yeah, we're promoting sustainability, climate change, climate resilience, and heritage and restoration. So this last part of the presentation is about the 2026 programme. So this isn't a sort of an official vision, but these are some of the things that I think we'll be pushing for this year, and they sort of continue the ethos of the Hackney Design Awards. So continuing to celebrate the best in design across the borough, promoting high quality sustainable design and standard, help to build great places with buildings that people love, continue to highlight sustainability and heritage matters with special awards, and obviously continue to involve local communities with the People's Choice Awards. So this is our timetable. Could change, but this is the timetable at the moment. We're looking to do some early comms and announcements in July. Our official launch will be in September, so come back to the website in September. That's when our nominations will open. They'll be open for a few weeks, about 4 weeks normally, and then they'll close in October, and we'll get our judging visits booked in. We have a quick turnaround to get those done. And then in November, we'll announce the shortlist, and that's when you can actually vote on your People's Choice winner. So you'll be able to see the whole shortlist and decide which one you think should win People's Choice. The scheme on the right there is one of the new homes programme, Hackney regeneration schemes, which I think is nearly finished. That's a CGI. So I just wanted to highlight that as quite an unusual building, and if it's been built well, which I'm sure it has been, then it's maybe a potential nomination. Our next panel chair, we haven't decided. We'll have a think about that. If anyone's got any suggestions, give me a shout, or say now, maybe in the Q&A. That's our judges, our panel chairs over the years. And how can you get involved? So this is the last thing, this is the important bit. Hopefully you are interested in the Hackney Design Awards and you want to get involved. Think about possible nominations. So they must have been completed since the last awards round, so since September 2024, and they must be completed by September 2026. So the judges need to be able to go into them, look around, and judge them fully by September 2026. And it can be anything, as I said, buildings, spaces. Share any ideas with me, that's my email address. Always interested to hear of any ideas. Promote the awards, obviously particularly for the Hackney Society. It'd be great if you can promote this and share it with all your networks, spread the word. Vote for your People's Choice winner. Hopefully there'll be one that you like, that you can vote for. I'm sure there will be. And then something that I've been discussing with the chair of the Hackney Society, and something, if there's anyone out there who would like to get involved, is having this kind of database of all our award sites. So we have quite a lot of information on the spreadsheets for sort of 2020 onwards, but before that it's really just what's in the information booklets. So anyone who wants to get involved in sort of drawing that information out, coming up with a spreadsheet that we could then make a GIS layer of all the winners, shortlisted schemes that you could sort of kind of walk around on your phone, look at a pin, and then come up with pictures of the schemes. That could be a really nice idea, so that's something we're looking into doing. So yeah, here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Matt. So hands up if there are any questions, and I'll come to you with the roving mic.
No questions? Oh.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
In my life since being on the planning committee, I've kept myself busy with the Mildmay Club as its secretary these days.
Right.
On the renovation awards, there's an extent to which the work we've been involved in is like continuous renovation. It never finishes.
Yeah.
But hopefully we're through the biggest part of it now. I wondered, on the renovation award, what's the criteria for saying it's been renovated?
Well, so, I mean, yeah, as I mentioned, it's the last 2 years, so it's September 2024. I mean, if there's things that have started before then, but then there's a kind of completion before September, and there's sort of tangible things that you can say have been done in the last 2 years, I think that would meet the criteria. But if a lot of it's been done prior to 2024, then probably not. So it'd be a case of kind of highlighting what you've done in the last 2 years. I'm also interested to hear if anyone's got any potential nominations, because I'm out and about in Hackney, but don't see everything. So have you got any ideas?
Sorry, I don't have a nomination. I was just wondering, is there a website where one can see all of these
Yes.
previous?
Yeah.
That's actually the website
Yeah.
where they're showing pictures and.
Yeah, so all the brochures are on there. 2004 we didn't have a brochure, but from 2006 onwards there's a brochure for all the
Great,
schemes.
thank you.
Is there a criteria for fitting in with the existing townscape of Hackney?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel modern buildings are just come from somewhere else and they're not designed for Hackney.
Yeah, so contextual response is key. You can see that, so it makes a positive contribution to its location and local context, including the historic environment. So if it's not in a historic context, it should still be in keeping with what's going on. If it's in an historic context, then it should be in keeping with that location and that context. So that is a key criteria.
Can I just ask about the balance between publicly funded and private developments? Because it was quite noticeable the dominance of schools in the early part of the presentation, and have there basically been no publicly funded or very few publicly funded developments in more recent years coming through the nominations?
I don't know all the details about the schools programme, but there was certainly that year, which I think was 2012, where there was a lot of money around for the academies and schools generally. So I think there was just lots of funding that year. So you do, sometimes you'll have these years where there's certain funding that's available, and then you see certain types of development which reflects that. But as I mentioned earlier on, the awards are open to everyone. So we encourage all sorts of developments. So whether it's big private development, Hackney's sort of regeneration development, extensions, public space, absolutely anything. When the judges are assessing these schemes, one of the questions we ask in the nominations is kind of the build cost, the project cost as well. So when they're assessing, they kind of think about all of those things. If someone's pulled a project off on a low budget, that will sort of kind of come into it as well. Although the criteria are the main thing to assess against.
Hi, Matt. Do you have a personal favourite building? And on top of that, do you have one that you look back and go, that's not aged well?
I've got to be careful because I'm on film, aren't I? With the one that I don't like. Personal favourite. I should have mentioned, actually. I know it's a favourite, but way back when. So the Nile Street building I actually used to live in. And I lived in there at that time. I didn't influence the decision making. But that was a really nice building and quite unusual. Don't know, I've never got a personal favourite. They're all great. The one, I'll say it, because it was kind of controversial at the time, was the People's Choice winner from that year, because everyone was a bit surprised about it, because it was on the shortlist, but it didn't get any commendations or mentions, and then it won People's Choice. So we were a little bit surprised about that. It wasn't the strongest one out of the shortlist. Oh, sorry. I'm going back and forth too much. I think we'll share the slides as well. Yeah, everything is on that website. So you'll see, when you go on there, when you land there, you'll see 2024, which is our last programme, so there's lots about that. And if you go to the bottom of the page, there's all the brochures from the previous years. So you can see all the schemes. And you can see all a lot of this information is pulled from those brochures. So you can see all of that.
Apart from the floating church on the Lee navigation, I don't think any of the winning buildings were in Hackney Wick. Is that right?
The handball arena?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Probably that's the only one. But yeah.
But a few, given there's been so much construction there.
Yeah, but then that area went into the London Legacy Development Corporation area, so we wouldn't consider those sites as part of the Hackney Design Awards. So at the time of the Olympics, that was part of the borough, the handball arena. Then it went into LLDC land. so we wouldn't have accepted entries from that area. But it has changed a lot. There's loads of great buildings there. And now it's back part of Hackney, so anything new that's happened in the last 2 years, we can accept.
Big round of applause for Matt. If you have a question